Hey everybody, gonna do a walkthrough on my OVRLND Camper build. The OVRLND Camper, first of all, these things are built really nice. It's all aluminum frames, all welded, riveted, or it has bolts, lock nuts with all kinds of sealant or adhesive over it. It's watertight, canvas is tight, doesn't flap in the wind. It's actually quite quiet inside. It's put on, it's a full-size camper, it's a full-size truck. So it's a Ford F-150, 5.5 foot bed. It's got the Super Crew on it. It's got a 2.7, the small Ecoboost motor, but it moves this thing around. You know, this camper only weighs 300 pounds or so. So, you know, with the stuff in it, it weighs more than that. And that was the whole idea of this build, was to build something light that the truck could handle and wouldn't even know it's on the back. So that's what we're going to go through. We can move around to the back. Back of the camper, got the optional barn doors on here. We didn't get any windows or any other kind of penetrations in it. The only other thing that we got is a tail light and the roof racks, which I'll talk about later. Inside, we went with a bench cabinet on one side and the tall kitchen cabinets on the other side. We found that, you know, installing a lot of the stuff at the end of the cabinets was a good idea. You know, you need the axe, you can grab the axe, you just flip it, take the axe out, go, you know, chop wood or do whatever you need to this or with this. Yeah, it works really well. Same with the tent stakes. We don't have a tent to stake, but we have a shade or a screen room that needs to be staked down, and we also have like a little potty enclosure that needs to be staked down as well. So having all that stuff on the outside instead of going in and out of the camper is really nice. You know, we got like this little utility knife, bear prod I call it. We have a little step stool that we use to get in. It's about half the height of the tailgate, so it's one step up, works really nice. Fire extinguisher. We have this bug netting. This works really good. It's a magnetic bug netting that we got on Amazon. I think it's made for a van, back of a van or something like that. It's not made for this truck, obviously, but it fit perfect in here. Just had to really trim the bottom. It's got Velcro around the outside, so you can take it down all the way if you want it. It's got magnets on the inside, so you just sort of, you know, tuck it in like that, and you just sort of pull it down, and it closes up. Works really well, real easy to get in and out of, because you just pop it open like that, and in you go. When you're done, you just take it, like I did before, magically. I pull it down like that, and it's all good to go again. If these were a little looser on this side, I think it would close a little better. It's a little tight, but so you have to sort of pull it down and force it to close. But still works really good. Wouldn't have it without it. You know, just getting in and out of the trailer all the time lets bugs in and out. So that's pretty nice to have. Looking at the barn doors, this one over here, same insulation that I have throughout. What I have is the 1-inch thick rigid foam, the polyiso foam that's behind this. This paneling is coroplast paneling. It's a plastic paneling. It's corrugated. I have the trim around it. You don't really need the trim around it. It still looks pretty good without it. I thought it was a little cleaner with the trim. But that goes over the top of the polyiso board. Polyiso board, I just cut it to fit perfectly in between the aluminum frame. The frame is, they're 1x1-inch thickness aluminum. So it fits in there, and I just measured them real tight, and they're friction fit in there. I didn't use any adhesive or anything else to hold all those panels in. Same for the inside. The inside around the camper itself, it all has the 1-inch rigid foam. The roof is the same, 1-inch rigid foam panels everywhere with the coroplast over the top, coroplast sides all the way down. The cabinets themselves, I put the 1-inch polyiso in the back of the cabinets. So I even insulated the back of the cabinets, and then they have a foam glue that you can get. I forgot who makes it, but it's like pink color for whatever. It's in the regular tube. It's used like a caulking gun with, and that holds those panels together and real nice. I'll take a picture of some of those as I go in there. So moving into the camper, these cabinets, they're only 1/4 inch birch plywood. So, you know, high quality birch plywood that I got at a hardwood store. The frames, the face frames are all poplar. They're just 1x2s. Again, I'm trying to keep this light. You know, these things are still super strong and not going anywhere. They don't move. They don't, you know, sag or anything else. The only thing that you'll see, some hardware that I just got on Amazon, cheap, just 1/4 turn hardware that opens it up. Nothing fancy. It's only 1/4 inch wide, so I did have to double it up on the hinges and on these latches to give the screws enough grip. But other than that, you know, these panels do warp a little bit, but when you shut it, it's sort of nice because they sort of lock it in place and hold it from rattling. So it actually works out pretty well. Don't mind them a bit. I routed all the edges inside the face frame so these doors fit more or less flush, so you don't have it grabbing on your clothes or anything as you get in. Moving in here, I just got switches that I got on Amazon. This is actually a drawer pull. I found that I needed this because we bumped this an awful lot and turned on and off the lights and all that kind of thing. So just putting this little bump guard on there, still can access the switches pretty easy, but it keeps you from mistakenly turning things on and off. Got some 12 volt, like cigarette lighter style. Got a USB one, a couple USBs here. This is my controller or monitor for the battery. I went with a 100 amp hour lifetime battery. Pretty inexpensive now. Well, I don't know for how long, but the one I just bought was like 169 bucks for a 100 amp hour battery, lithium. Pretty sweet. I have a 200 watt solar panel on the roof, which I'll show you guys later. But that's the controller or the monitor, just so I can see where the charge is at and all that thing. Here's the bench side of the cabinets. We have a bench side. We have tall cabinets on the other side. We'll call it kitchen side. This side, it's split. The cushions are split 70-30-ish. This is 3-inch high density foam and wrapped in outdoor fabric. Outdoor fabric from Joann's. You know, outdoor is nice to have because it does have a coating on it that allows you to clean it much easier. This is just 3/8 inch plywood base. Fabric's wrapped around, stapled from the bottom. The reason we have it split is so we can lift this up in particular. If there's still people sitting on this side, I can lift this up and still access the propane. This is the propane. This is the case for the propane, I should say. It's 20-pound tank that's in here. It's all sealed, caulked and sealed. From the inside, I have these latches so you can take this top off. There's 6 of those clamps that hold the top down and seal it. That's inconvenient to take on and off all the time. And since this box is attached to the truck and does not move, I have this hatch, which is a marine hatch that I bought. It has a rubber gasket on it, so it seals well. And that allows me to spin that off, and then I can open and shut the propane from the top without having to remove the top of this box. That works out really well. This box is sealed from the inside, but it's vented to the outside. So the bottom corner of this box, I have a PVC, 1-inch PVC that comes out and then turns straight down and ends up discharging out the bottom of the truck. Now, how I did that is on these F-150s, they have a utility panel that you can put stuff in there, a little accessory panel that you can put stuff in, or tools or whatever it is. I took that off. That left a hole in the bed of the truck. I then put that PVC down through the bed, which basically runs right behind the back fender there and discharges out. You want to be able to discharge the propane Sometimes regulators will blow or you'll have a leak or something like that. Thing to note, propane is heavier than air, so it will sink down. So you want the vent at the bottom, not the top of that box. You want it at the bottom of the box. So bottom of the box vent, make sure that it goes to a safe spot. You don't want it venting inside the truck. I do have a propane sensor here. Again, you want to mount these things down low because propane will sink. You don't want it up high. You want it down low or it's not going to catch it. Here's the other cushion, just like the one over the propane. You can lift it up. You can access this from the top or from the doors. It's sort of convenient. If somebody's sitting on it, you can get it from the front, from the doors. There's the battery there. It's a 100 amp hour lithium battery, 12.8 volt. It's a lifetime brand. There's also room here for another battery. I didn't know if I needed 2 or 1 at the time, so I made space for a second. I haven't needed it. This lifetime battery with its capacity plus the 200 watt solar on top charging all the time hasn't been an issue. I've always topped that thing off and it's always stayed charged. So coming through the doors, this is what we're using for a bathroom, just the luggable loo, very basic, you know, almost like a diaper genie type of system there. In this one, this is our control panel or electrical panel. It's got various, you know, the fuses. It has these breakers. It has these marine switches so I can shut off power, isolate the battery. I can isolate the solar. This is to control the breaker from the solar itself. I have a Victron MPPT 75 for the solar controller for the panel. Various other breakers and buses and shunts. You know, here is a chart that I made that I put on the inside of the door so we can sort of, you know, what things are supposed to be on, off, and which direction they're supposed to be headed and what they are. Helps my wife out a little bit too, figuring out how to do things in here. Got another cabinet in the back. This just for storage. You have storage that even goes underneath where the batteries are stored. So pretty deep on the storage. Coming to the other side here. Again, more storage. Got things in there. There's a gas line that runs up through this cabinet here. There's a shutoff that's behind that panel that goes to the furnace. So that's a 20,000 BTU suburban furnace. It was an economical buy. You know, we were looking at Propex and things like that, and those things are very expensive. And this was not. It was very reasonable. It's about 1/4 of the cost of the Propex, and it works great. It doesn't make very much noise, especially underneath the cabinet, and the bed slides out over the top of it, and it heats this thing without any problems. So I had to custom build the cabinet to fit it, of course, because it doesn't have a lot of varying in size, but I was doing that anyway, so that worked out great. Saved me a lot of money. Moving over to these cabinets. Top one, mostly cooking stuff that's in there. Lots of room in there. Bottom one has sewer. What we do is I just got a little quick connect on this and the tube that goes from the sink, which you'll see next, into this little 3-gallon. That's if we're doing camping where we're not allowed to just discharge out the side of the truck. You know, I can keep it in there. It's only 3 gallons, so you have to empty it quite a bit. We really just plan to sort of discharge out the side, and most of the campsites that we stay at are remote and they don't care, or there's nobody even there. Other cabinet here. This is where the water is. So we have 3 jugs. All of them are 6 gallon apiece, so you have 18 gallons total. I have this quick connect that comes from beer making. It's a stainless steel quick connect, and I just can move it from one to the next as they empty. If you unscrew these, it's basically a sipping straw that is hooked to a shark bite connector to a PEX pipe that goes down in it, and that's connected to that quick connect that I was talking about, the stainless steel quick connect that's used for brewing. And that's how I do this system. This hose then goes to a 12-volt pump that's tucked up under here, controlled by switches above that power that, and it goes to the sink on the top here. This is a stainless steel sink, really heavy duty, probably too heavy for what I need it for, but it was the one that was nice and deep and works really well. I got a cheap faucet on Amazon and a little soap container there. Coming back down to this door, something I did I thought was sort of cool. A lot of these are hard, you know, it's a small space, so when you got these doors open and shut, you know, it can be sort of a pain. So what I did is I got these hinges that you can remove, so you can just take the doors off. So all these cabinets have removable doors, and then you just slide those things back on the hinges and you're good to go. So that's something that's just, you could even, if you wanted to, make these like tables for outside or something. So you pull them off and put them outside for tables. This is the switches for the pump and other accessories within there. Again, I put a little bump thing on here, which is nothing more than a drawer pull. Stove, go over to the stove here. I wanted an indoor-outdoor stove. Most of the cooking that we're going to be doing is probably outside, but it does clip here, so I don't have to take up cabinet space. This is a camp chef. This thing is beefy. Cast iron lid. It's got really nice cast iron burners on there. Super solid. These burners work better than our stove in our house. So this thing I highly recommend. Not sponsored by them or anything else. This is just a good product. I can use it in here if I wanted to. I have a gas quick connect on the stove that goes and runs through this grommet, and I can run it, well, actually it comes from down below and comes through here. I have a gas valve below the sink that has a flex hose on it that I can take out of here to connect to the stove inside, or I have a little door that's located below the sink that goes out through the camper side, and I can have the stove connected outside on the table. The counter itself is just 3/4 inch pine. This is like, they call it project board at Lowe's. They come in wide widths, which work perfect. They're already glued and pieced together. It's just pine, so you have to seal it. I didn't seal it, I actually polyurethane. Got a few coats of polyurethane on the top of this. Haven't had any issues with it. Still in really good shape. This is a little, the extension here for for eating. You can put plates here, you can put your laptop here, or any of that kind of thing. Good for one person. If you have a second person, you can just pop this drawer out, and now you got room for a second person, but it doesn't get in the way when you're trying to cook or anything like that. You can just put it back in and it locks into place. Those are just push to open drawer slides, got on Amazon. They work pretty sweet for that. Got a little hatch here that I put in. I got a little divider that you can go cubby just to store things. The furnace is right below here, and it didn't take up all the cabinet, so I was able to put something here and just access it from the top. Stuff you want to just throw in there real quick. Up top here, thermostat to control the furnace. This is also USB. You can turn them on and off, which is sort of nice if you're not using it. You know, you don't have the lights, you know, inside the cab. You can turn that on and off. It's also a flip down switch. We have a sound machine that's plugged in here right now that just helps us drown out the noise if there is any. We do have the extra layer that is an option from OVRLND. This works great. It really does help keep the cold and the heat out with this up. We leave this thing up all the time. And it also helps with the noise and everything. The canvas is tight. It's not really your noise. It's just noises outside if you're at a campground that have a lot of people and that kind of thing. Something that it was sort of cool idea I lucked out into. You know, I have the coroplast here on the sides, and that works great. Easy to clean, wipe off. You know, condensation doesn't bother it. But here, I couldn't do that same thing. The reason I couldn't put coroplast here is there wasn't room between here, the wall, and where this slides out. This is the bed that slides out here. So to get it to slide along here, this coroplast was too thick. So I went with this carpeting. It's nice for two reasons. One is it provides a little insulation, a little breakup in color. And plus, if you have items that have Velcro on the back, you can just put those anywhere. This is the controller for our Max Air fan, which I'll talk about in a second. And you can just move that anywhere around the perimeter of the camper. Got some additional cubbies here that I just screwed into the camper wall. And up here, these are sort of cool. I got these on Amazon as well. They're just little cubbies for your shoes. So when you come in here, instead of getting dirt all over the floor and everything, you can sit down on the couch here, take your shoes off and stick them up here. You know, holds a couple pairs of shoes, and you don't have to worry about that muddying up your place. I have these hooks. You'll probably seen them in the video. They're all over the place, backs of the cabinets and on this molly panel behind me. But I put them everywhere. You know, you just want to hang purses or gear or whatever, binoculars, you know, whatever you need, you have these hooks. You can see I put this molly panel here because we only have 2 people. I didn't need the extra cushion. You know, I hang my bear spray on it. I got hooks here. These even work with, you know, the regular peg type of hooks. So anywhere you could put little hooks and little clips, it's going to be better for you. Up here is a bracket. This is where the carbon monoxide detector goes. This thing here is the conduit for the cable, all the electrical cabling that goes up into the ceiling. We have a few electrical devices that are up in the ceiling. I'll show you in a second. I don't like necessarily how it hangs. I would prefer it to come from the very corner. But this, when the canvas comes in, it comes this way. And if it was in the corner, it would bind. So I wanted it out far enough that I wouldn't have this thing kinking, you know, every time I open and shut it. And then you're going to have wires start to fray and cause shorts. So moving along the ceiling, again, coroplast over the top of the 1-inch Poly Iso rigid foam. Insulates really nice. Got these are hooked to the 12-volt system. They're not battery they're battery operated, but from the big battery, not from its own little battery. They're dimmable. They get pretty bright. They dim pretty nice, but they were a little too bright. So what I did is I installed 2 touch lights in the back. And again, those are hardwired touch lights. They're dimmable as well, but a little bit more dim on the dim setting to work better in the back, you know, when we're sleeping. And plus, we can just reach up, turn them on and off instead of trying to get to these. The switch for these is near the entry, so that when you come in from the tailgate, you can pop these big lights on, and then you can turn that off when you jump in the bed and turn those on. Fire smoke detector, I mean. Got that in the middle. This is mattress. It's a 4-inch foam mattress. It's a tri-fold mattress, which works pretty nice because we can pop up the back and sit down in the front. This is a good place for wife to take a nap up here. And I can still have the couch, and I can lounge on the couch if I need to. And she can sit up here. You can't put the top down with it. It doesn't have enough height. But what you do is you just pull those down into the tri-fold position and then put those on the couch, and then you can drop everything down. So this goes onto the couch. The bedding sort of goes down onto the table, and then you can drop the whole top. Another USB. It's got 3 USB ports here. UVC, UV, whatever the other one is. And then you have an outdoor temperature gauge, which is nice to know if it's going to be freezing or not. You're going to be toasty because you got the furnace in here. The cushions, I don't think I talked about these cushions. They're just wedge cushions. Got them on Amazon once again. They're used for, like, you know, sleeping in bed or whatever. We use them as back cushions. We recovered them to be something a little bit more durable. Sits us too nice. The other good thing about this, you can turn them this way. It fits perfect this way. And then you can lounge on the couch looking out the door, you know, at the lake or wherever you're at. So that works out really well for us too. We could also use them up in the bed if we wanted to. Running the Max Air fan. This one is really nice. I don't remember the model numbers, like 5000 or 5200 or something like that. But this is the one where it's automatic, controlled by the remote control. You can also set it to where when it turns 78 degrees, the thing opens up and starts blowing. You don't even have to start it up. So that's pretty sweet. It has a manual up and down as well. This is the model where you can use it when it's raining. You don't have to worry if it's raining or not raining. So that works out really well. And it's also low profile, because you'll see in the latter part of my video, I'm all about like aerodynamics of this thing and everything. So this is low profile, easy to manipulate, works really well. Here's the outside of the camper. These are the penetrations that I made on the outside of the camper. This one is the exhaust and air intake for the Suburban furnace. I put a spray port in here. This is handy to have. I didn't have this at first, but I found that I use an awful lot of water on the outside for hosing off plates and hosing off dirt, that you drop something in the dirt and all that kind of thing. So this works sweet on the outside. What I was doing before was I was using this door. So I had this pass-through, and this pass-through goes to underneath the sink cabinet. And I was using it for propane. I can take the propane out the hole, or I could take water, and I had the hose and I was dragging that out. This is much more efficient. You can leave it set up. It's hooked to the pump and everything on it. This works much better than having to drag it through here and open this door every time. So highly recommend it being out here. The other thing I did for this is there's a USB that's just inside this door. So I can run a wire through here and charge my phone, or hook up something, an appliance that's outside that's USB is right inside that door. Here's a wind deflector that I built for this. It's custom designed or custom built by me. I couldn't find anything on the internet or anywhere else that would fit this or was built the way I wanted it to be built. I made this myself. I made it out of 1/4 inch acrylic panel that's on the face. I got some rubber here with some adhesive to transition so the acrylic to the truck, so it seals nice but doesn't wear off the paint. These are 1/8 inch aluminum panels all the way around, and then there's various other square tubing, also aluminum, that goes between this. These brackets are the only thing that aren't aluminum. These are steel, 1/8 inch steel that I hand formed to fit. They bolt in here and then clamp onto the lip of this. Holds it super tight, doesn't wiggle, doesn't move, doesn't make a noise. And this really helps with the aerodynamics, because what we did have with this is the wind would travel across the top here and then smack this, and you had that buffeting noise, quite a bit of buffeting noise on the back before we did this. After we did this, no noise at all. So not only did it take care of the aerodynamics, maybe gained a gas mile or two, also took care of the noise, but I store my recovery racks in here as well. I have recovery racks, and I also have the leveling blocks in this, so I can use this. If I don't have that because I'm not going anywhere heavy duty or something, then I can load it with firewood or something like that. Works great for anything that you don't mind being outside. Works as a rack and a wind deflector. Here's the Renogy 200 watt solar panel that's on the roof. Works really great. Gives me plenty of power to charge my battery. I just have angle irons that I bolted through it with locking washers or locking nuts that go to these roof rails. These roof rails were installed by OVRLND Camper. It's one of the few options that I had put onto the trailer. I think it's important to let them do it because it has to line up with the structure underneath. You know, these holes are all sealed on top and have to line up with these rails. They do a really good job of that. No leaks or anything in the system. So I think it's pretty important to have them do it. So I paid the money and had them do it. In the front, you see I have another wind deflector. Can't get enough of them. That one is the same. I had pieces left over from the one in the front. So that is also a 1/4 inch acrylic panel with a little rubber gasket on the bottom. I don't know how much it works or doesn't work or helps or doesn't help, but I installed it right away. Has some aluminum brackets and everything left over. So it all went in there pretty well. I suppose it helps at least some. One thing to note when working with acrylic, you don't want to drill the holes just big enough to fit the bolts when you're bolting through acrylic. This stuff expands and contracts a lot more than aluminum does. So what you need to do is you need to drill the hole out much bigger than the bolt. And then what I used these big fender washers on that to cover up the hole, and then a rubber washer, just sort of keep everything tight but loose enough that it can expand and contract, but tight enough that it doesn't vibrate, move around, and cause a bunch of noise and buffeting and stuff up on top. Same with the front. I did it in the front as well. So important to do that. I've learned from experience that acrylic does crack if you don't give it room to expand. See the recovery tracks up here and the bag over there that has the leveling blocks in there. That's the end of our video. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact me. Explain more of what I did or how I did it or why I did it. And on that note, please understand that I'm just a weekend warrior guy. A lot of research online, a lot of different books and things that I've done to try and figure this out, but I'm no expert. So take my advice with a grain of salt. This is the way I did it. There may be a better way of doing it, safer way of doing it, and always go with that. So always check, make sure that what you're doing is per code or whatever codes that may be available. Appreciate your time. Thank you.